Summer's here, and Nordstrom has everything you need for your best dress season ever. From beach days and weddings to weekend getaways and your everyday wardrobe. Discover stylish options under $100 from tons of your favorite brands like Mango, Skims, Princess Polly, and Madewell. It's easy, too, with free shipping and free returns, in-store order pickup, and more. Shop today in stores, online at Nordstrom.com, or download the Nordstrom app.
Every day, thousands of Comcast engineers and technologists, like Kunle, put people at the heart of everything they create.
In the average household, there are dozens of connected devices. Here in the Comcast family, we're building an integrated in-home Wi-Fi solution for millions of families like my own. It brings people together in meaningful ways.
Kunle and his team are building a Wi-Fi experience that connects 1 billion devices every year. Learn more about how Comcast is redefining the future of connectivity at comcastcorporation.com/Wi-Fi.
Hey, I'm Candice Lim.
And I'm Kate Lindsay. And you're listening to ICYMI.
In case you missed it.
Slate's podcast about internet culture.
And finally, the day has come for me to talk about the Molly May Hague docuseries on this show. Finally.
I mean, I can't believe with your love of Molly May and my love of Molly May, it actually hasn't come up yet. But I'm also maybe not as much of a fan as I claim to be, because you were the one who dropped the news to me that part 2 of her Amazon show just came out. I ate up the first batch of episodes back in January. It is perfect, mindless content.
Yeah, I literally every single week after that came out would ask myself, like, when's the second part dropping? And then when I stopped asking, it came out. And that
I didn't even realize there was a second part. I did not know that there was more to tell, but I'm happy there is.
Yeah. And for those who need something new to watch, Molly May Hague is probably the most famous contestant to come out of Love Island UK. She walked out with Tommy Fury, who became her fiancé and the father of their child. But last August, they broke up, and it was the breakup that shocked the world.
I still remember where I was. I still remember who I texted. Oh my God. Everything came to a halt. It was covered on ITV. It was national news. It was international news. It was the breakup heard around the world. And people, myself included, were heartbroken. And then in January, Molly May drops the first part of this docuseries with Amazon. And it was a must-watch because the show was supposed to be about this perfect life with Tommy. And then this breakup happens. And the production team sort of clearly had to do this sharp pivot. And now it's like a show about the aftermath of their breakup. I mean, you also watched the first part. What did you think of it?
I loved it. I ran through all of those first episodes in one night, which is funny because, like, I actually was not even that keyed into Molly May beforehand. Like, I knew she was on Love Island UK, but she was on it before I started watching, which was the Ekin-Su season.
You started with Ekin-Su?
I know.
I mean, that's a great place to start. If it wasn't, I would either recommend people start with Molly May, or if they don't have time, if they need a quicker introduction, start with Ekin-Su.
Right. And like, little did I know that Molly walked so Ekin could run. And
so Ekin could crawl across the balcony.
Oh my God. Yeah. And if I heard a headline about Molly, it was like her making £5 million a year to be the creative director of Pretty Little Thing, or like her being one of the first Love Island contestants to really like make it outside of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, oh my God, what do I know? But because she was a vlogger before she got on the show, but I don't know if she was that huge.
Right.
This like really catapulted her. And so I was a big follower of her on social media. I followed her and Tommy. I like, you know, when she was pregnant, that like similarly, everything had to stop. I had to text all my group chats. So there's something about her. Like she's the most grown up child in a nice way that I've ever seen. She loves to just sit home and watch Harry Potter. Yeah. And I think she's probably great at being a mom because of that.
Yeah. I think there's something kind of Zoella-ish about her as well. The house.
Yeah. One time she has this beautiful house, beautiful life. And like one of her vlogs, she was talking about like nearly shitting herself while shopping. And I'm like, that's who is relatable to me.
Exactly. And so I really liked the series. They spend all 3 episodes leading up to this pop-up she does for her clothing brand, Maybe. And Molly actually does not have a great time at the pop-up. They show the criticism her clothing line gets and how she dealt with it. And I just thought those episodes were actually really interesting and really well done. It was this look into how like influencing looks both online and in real life, but specifically I found Molly's relationship with her inner circle and her sister so fascinating. I want to play this teaser clip from the second part of the Prime series that gets me really excited for these episodes.
Your relationship and how you feel and how you are with Tommy is my only concern.
But what a lovely life you have there.
I know,
I know.
Nothing I do or say to you is going to change what you do or your opinion or how you feel towards him.
Correct. And you know what, Zoe? That's the wisest thing I think you've ever said.
I mean, yeah, you would think that this show was going to be all about the drama with her and Tommy, and you do get some little insights into that. But I would say because Tommy's not really participating in it as of yet, the relationships with her family and the people around her, that's what it centers on. And I think what's super interesting is the way specifically that relationship affected the people around her. And it's hard because they do clearly, I don't know, there's some agreement about, and I do think it's out of respect for their children, there is some agreement that like we get very few details about this breakup, and we kind of get very few details about like the behavior that the family is alluding to, at least like sort of in the earlier conversations, because I think maybe, you know, Bambi, which is the name of their child, will grow up and could read all this. And so that's my guess, because it's like both very vulnerable, but also a lot of it's very cryptic. Like, what are they even talking about in that teaser? I mean, I guess that's why it's a teaser, but you know, it's all conversations like that, and then you kind of fill in the gaps.
I'm with you. We're like, it is so interesting to see the way that Molly feels this need to kind of like be strong in this show and to like hold it all together, not only for her child, but also for her fans. And just, you get this vibe that she feels a need to take care of everyone. But then you watch the people around her. So her sister, her mom, her dad, her managers, who like, I'm just going to say it, I sometimes felt like her professional team, her managers were like a little harsh on her. And it reminded me of, remember when Selena Gomez did that Apple TV docuseries? Yes. I think it was called like My Mind and Me, and like there were similar moments where like her team would kind of like push back on her, and I would kind of be like, oh wow, like I understand why you're so critical. It's because the people around you, like, they're kind of validating whatever you have in your head, and that's tough.
Yeah, you know, the other thing it makes you think of is the Charlie D'Amelio, the D'Amelio family series on Hulu, because there's this one scene of Charlie just like sitting in a room while a bunch of adults basically pitch out her entire year in terms of like sponsorships and events. And it's like, oh, this isn't like a human anymore. This is like an object. This is, and I think you kind of see the similar thing happening with Molly, where there's just all these people centered around the behavior and the decisions and the optics of this one person.
Exactly. And I think if there's one good takeaway I came out with, I get the sense that Molly was really nervous about announcing the breakup with Tommy, because when you walk out of Love Island, you walk out of it as a couple. And then if you break up, the question is like, can we get the same sponsorships? Will they be the same price, or do we need to be together? All this stuff. And I actually felt like the docuseries did a good job of showing that Tommy was not an asset. He was a liability. And at the end of the day, Molly May and her fans, they love her so much. They're rooting for her. She's got this. And I think that confidence is what they're going to walk into the second part of the docuseries for. And I'll be there. I'll
be walking there too. Yeah. I saw threads on Reddit about Tommy throughout their entire relationship. And I mean, I feel like for years, I didn't want it to happen, but I feel like for years, the kind of the line I'd hear from fans is like, she needs to get rid of him. He is a liability.
Yeah. And then I kind of wanted to ask a question, which is that, like, something that has happened between part 1 and part 2 of the Molly May story is, like, there was another lifestyle show that came out that involves someone who was also tabloid fodder in the UK, Meghan Markle, and her Netflix show with Love Meghan. Is it wild for me to say that I kind of think Molly May's show is better?
I don't think that's crazy. Because, you know, I think they're having different responses to being covered very similarly by the tabloids, which is Meghan is kind of like shut off. She's like, this is what you get from me. You're not getting any closer. This house is fake. All that stuff we spoke about in our episode about it. But with Molly May, I see this a lot more as like, I'm going to take control of this me and Tommy narrative. And this story is going to be about me. And I'm going to somehow make all of you turning in to hear about the breakup to then you're just hearing about my business. And, I think it probably started with intentions to be very put together, but then it took such a sharp turn with the breakup. And maybe that's why it's good, because even though it is like picture perfect, it's also very raw, because like this was Tommy and Molly's Scandival, or like minus that egregious cheating.
Minus the proven cheating.
Right, I know. I was like, people might debate that, but yes.
Yeah, and Kate, I guess the real question at hand is, will we be watching the second drop, part 2 of Molly May Behind It All?
Oh, absolutely. I don't have any better plans than to just like really turn off my brain and watch that. But we will not be watching alone, because you know who else will definitely be watching? The Keyboard Warriors on a little website called Tattle.life.
Oh.
If you don't know, Tattle is a website in the UK that is essentially a less polished version of Reddit for people to talk about primarily British celebrities, influencers, and more. But after an influencer who was the subject of one of these threads took the experience to Parliament, their necessity and purpose online has been brought into question. And I'd like to answer some of these lingering doubts around the website. But first, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll explain how Tattle became the go-to place for unhinged celebrity snark and how it crossed the line for maybe even the government. Hi, listeners. I hope you're enjoying today's show. If this is your first time listening, then welcome. We're thrilled to have you here. In case you missed it, our show comes out twice a week on Wednesdays and Saturdays, so make sure you never miss an episode, like this past Wednesdays when we broke down the controversy surrounding a running influencer who interviewed Trump's press secretary and what it means to be apolitical online.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today? Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices, and that's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies, so you can save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states and situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
And we're back. And so, Candice, I just want to start by giving you the full Tattle rundown.
Ooh, hit me.
So like we said, the URL is tattle.life. So some people call it Tattle, some people call it Tattle Life. It was founded in 2018 by someone whose identity has never been publicly revealed. In a rare interview, she refers to herself as Helen, and that's also the name she uses to post and moderate on Tattle, so that's how we're going to refer to her here.
Okay, I didn't realize there was a British Dumois all along.
I know.
Interesting.
Similar. I mean, she basically oversees one of the most visited sites in the UK, that's according to The Guardian. The site is not fancy. In fact, it looks a bit more like it's from 2008 than 2018, and it's filled with threads upon threads upon threads about British social media influencers and pop culture figures. It's extremely active, and people are posting like every few minutes. They have kind of a running ticker of the latest post. They always say, posted 2 minutes ago. It is down to the second.
Okay, so it's kind of like Blog Snark. That's the subreddit criticizing bloggers and influencers. It's also a little bit of like Lipstick Alley, which is like a forum that looks like it was coded in the early 2000s.
Yeah, they like look like they have the same template.
Exactly, and it's kind of like a similar thing. It's a place for people to pop off like any and all unhinged thoughts they have about celebrities.
Yeah, but I want to share how Tattle describes themselves in their own words, because in 2019, Helen posted this kind of statement that's now pinned to the top of the page, which is, Tattle Life is a commentary website on public business social media accounts. We allow commentary and critiques of people that choose to monetize their personal life as a business and release it into the public domain. We have a zero-tolerance policy to any content that is abusive, hateful, harmful, and a team of moderators online 24/7 to remove any content that breaks our strict rules, often in minutes.
Okay, honestly, that sounds pretty vague.
Yeah, abusive, hateful, harmful, zero tolerance for that apparently. But I just want to compare those words to some headlines about Tattle that are out there. So, there's the battle to close Tattle, the most hate-filled corner of the web. That's from The Guardian. How gossip forum Tattle Life became the most toxic place on the internet from the New Statesman, and the gossip forum where women suffer some of the worst abuse on the internet, and that one's from Glamour UK.
So are there strict rules, or is this like an influencer hating free-for-all?
That's kind of the heart of the Tattle question, I think, because in the same thread where Helen's statement is posted, she links to a whole other thread that is dedicated to discussing Tattle when it appears in the press. So, I'm pretty sure all of these articles appear there. And in response, users seem genuinely frustrated by this reputation, saying that these takedowns often conflate things that happen on other forums with Tattle, or they cherry pick examples, or they have simply, in the words of one user, quote, decided on their outcome and narrative before the first word is even written or any research has taken place. So I want to make sure we don't do that here.
Yeah, well, they don't have to worry about me because this is basically the first time I'm learning about it, thanks to you.
Yeah, no, you have no word has been written in your head for this. But at the same time, it's not like Tattle is the only snark forum. So there's got to be something about it specifically that's contributing to this reputation when similar platforms like Blog Snark or Lipstick Alley or even NYC Influencer Snark, they don't get the same dramatic headlines.
Well, NYC Influencer Snark is a place I think some people could feel is similarly toxic, but they do have very clear rules that are posted at all times on the side of the page. No body shaming and no encouraging people to contact the influencers, things like that. And I should note, these aren't rules explicitly from Reddit, but from the forum moderators who scroll through the post for free and on their own time. So does Tattle have the same guidelines?
Yeah, Reddit very much kind of has this agreed upon community culture that I don't know if it's the case really on Tattle. The closest thing I can find is what's mentioned in that statement that they have a zero tolerance policy for, quote, abusive, hateful, and harmful content. But they don't name anything specific, which leaves the definition for those words up to interpretation. But a lot of creators and public figures who have been the subject of Tattle threads have spoken up with their own claims about what's been allowed on the site. So in a 2019 petition to take the site down, a YouTuber named Michelle Chapman wrote, "I've had nothing but relentless abuse, bullying, harassment, discrimination, and even doxing from this forum. I've had my looks, my health, and more spoken about very derogatorily. They've even been really cruel about my young children."
And did anything happen with the petition? I mean, clearly not, because the site is still there.
Yeah, it has over 70,000 signatures, but the latest update is back in 2021 when Michelle wrote, quote, "My local MP, which is a member of parliament, Helen Whatley, who's completely backed me as she was shocked by what she saw on Tattle Life, said that the government has set up a new hub to tackle online hate crime, and she wrote to the Home Secretary asking him to make sure it looks into Tattle Life." Now, I was looking into that hub because I was like, if they've really created a hub in response to Tattle, that's wild. But it was actually announced in 2017. And it sounds like what Michelle is saying is that the MP wants to alert that hub to the existence of Tattle.
And yet Tattle lives.
Tattle lives, but that was not the end of its brush with government officials. Because that same year, Glamour UK reported that influencer M. Sheldon met with the Parliamentary Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee. There, she told MPs about the, quote, dark spaces of the internet on forum sites like Tattle Life, where, quote, grown women with children target influencers, bloggers, and other public figures with relentless abuse. Some of her peers, she says, have been reported to His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, who collects taxes, and also the RSPCA, which is like an animal welfare charity. It's like someone, calling the ASPCA on your dog.
Right.
And also social services by those hell-bent, in quotes, on ruining the lives of the influencers they dislike.
And I've heard about stuff like this happening in America, too. I mean, public figures getting swatted or people contacting their sponsorships. But has anyone ever met with Congress about, blog snark, for example?
I know. I don't think specific subreddits have ever gone in front of Congress, but, there are much larger conversations happening in the government about bigger social media platforms that have similar forums like Facebook and TikTok and YouTube. They've met with congressional committees and public hearings specifically to talk about the abuse and harassment that's happening on their platforms.
But it sounds like that's what happened with Tattle, too.
Right. It's like, again, something about Tattle is different. And I think that the answer might be in that same post from Helen, the person behind Tattle, I keep referring back to. Because after that statement about the rules, she writes this, and I'm just going to read a condensed version. It begins, "Influencer marketing is insidious. They share the most intimate and emotional parts of their life, making themselves seem accessible so many believe they're a close friend, as it's more powerful to sell to. In reality, social media influencers have a one-way relationship. Influencers are said to affect people's body and mind far more than celebrities and friends because they spend their whole lives posting what may at a glance look like authentic content when it's nothing of the sort. Beauty magazines have in the past been blamed for their toxic effects on people. The effect of influencers is far deeper and more extreme. It's an important part of a healthy, free, and fair society for members of the public to have an opinion on those in a position of power and influence. That is why Tattle exists. This is not trolling."
I mean, she hates influencers, right? Like
Yes,
that's just the vibe. I mean, it reminds me of that post by the creators of Influencers in the Wild who framed making fun of influencers as some kind of like social justice need.
Yeah, it was very much the same setup of like, these people are liars and they're like duping the public and they're making us all sad, essentially. And so we get to have this space for them. And listen, sometimes influencers are guilty. I mean, if influencers didn't do bad stuff, then we wouldn't have a podcast. But there's often more nuance to the situations than these kind of forums allow. But Tattle is very much a space where an influencer is guilty until proven innocent, except no one is showing up there to prove them innocent. Yeah. I've lurked on a few, and in my experience, it is solely negative, and it's a complete hive mind. Like, rarely have I seen pushback on things that I absolutely believe crosses a line, like straight up body shaming, which is ironic because how influencers make people feel about their own bodies is cited as a reason that this feedback is warranted.
Yeah. And I do feel like you'll see people, even on like the subreddit NYC Influencer Snark, be like, I don't like them, but this post is funny.
Yeah, I see that a lot where it's like, you gotta hand it to them. And I am sure that probably happens on Tattle. I mean, it's huge, so I've only scratched the surface. But I would say that that kind of ineffable difference that exists between UK tabloid coverage and American tabloids is the same thing we're seeing here. Like, the UK press is far more invasive, far more relentless, far less forgiving. And I have to imagine that that is trickling down into people who aren't journalists and maybe influencing the culture of this website.
But if there's been these petitions and the government is potentially getting involved, where does Tattle stand now?
Well, that's a great question, because in researching for this episode, I actually came across a very bizarre moment that happened on the website earlier this year. But before we dive into that, let's take a break. When we come back, what's happening with Tattle now, and when do snark forums cross a line from free speech into hate speech?
This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
Member Week is here at Lowe's. Don't miss your chance to get up to 40% off hundreds of items like paint, outdoor and home essentials, and more. Shop our exclusive deals happening in-store and online now through May 14th. Not a rewards member? Join for free today and get ready to save more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Oh, ICYMI listeners, do I have a scoop for you? So what is it, you ask? It's that Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Now, before anyone goes suggesting that this is just a rumor, know that there's actual proof that this kettle of tea is not only piping hot, but 100% true. So, yeah, sometimes it pays to be a little nosy, but it always pays to discover. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/creditcard.
And we're back. And before we went to break, you, Kate, teased some drama.
Absolutely. And there was some drama. So I want you to picture me researching this episode, looking for features about Tattle in the press, only to come across this headline from January. Influencer snark site Tattle Life announces it's closing down due to recent threats.
Oh my God, plot twist.
And obviously my first thought was to think of me and us and be like, oh, God damn it, we missed it. Now we can't do the episode. It's gone. But then I was like, wait, I was just on Tattle finding these other links and it was very much alive. So I did some digging on Reddit where people were discussing the supposed Tattle shutdowns. This all gets very meta. And I guess this actually happened after the site attempted to rebrand away from gossip under a new name, 8.cafe, which everyone rightly pointed out is giving 4chan vibes.
Yeah, it also just makes no sense.
I know. Some people are saying the 8 is meant to be like hate cafe. I don't even, but still, it's like you need a bit of a leap to get there. And like the rest of Tattle really agreed. Like no one liked it. And the site moved back to being Tattle, only for this message to appear not long after. This message reads, it was on the top of the site. Unfortunately, recent threats directed against members of one of our families have left us with no choice but to shut down the site. It's simply unfair for them to be impacted by something they have zero involvement in.
Huh. Okay. Did anybody hear the irony in that statement? Like, I'm sure influencers' kids also didn't ask to be involved.
I know. It's a very interesting kind of hypocrisy happening there. And it's kind of unclear because the consensus on Reddit, at least, is that there was actually just some internal drama happening behind the scenes of all this. Okay. Because just like 8cafe, the announcement was up and then everything went back to normal almost immediately after. The post that announced the shutdown is gone. People are still snarking. Like, nothing has changed. And so it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's like when Selena Gomez, whenever she says she's quitting social media, and she's like, I'm back.
I know. She is so real for that. Who among us?
Yeah.
The only thing I will note, which was implemented in 2023 and is also the case now, is that Tattle is closed to new accounts. They implemented this because they said too many people would get banned for breaking the rules and then just make a new account to evade the ban. This is mentioned in their statements, both about 8cafe and then also the one about them closing that was then deleted, but they're all preserved on Reddit.
And so they are trying to make things better.
Yeah, I mean, like, they are, and I do believe they are aware that they're aware at least that they want to stop this problem. I mean, the only way I can square how much they claim to care about stopping harassment with the amount of harassment influencers say they experience is to conclude that there just is too much for them to moderate and stay on top of.
Yeah, and as I think our Faux Moi episode made clear, we are not pro shutting down forums.
Yeah, there are so many forums on Tattle that have nothing to do with influencers. Like, some people just use it to chat about current events. And even if you do use it to snark, I think it should be protected. The rules just need to be clearer, it seems.
Yeah, like rather than just saying vaguely that the site doesn't tolerate abuse, they need to clearly define what abuse on the platform even looks like.
Yeah, and maybe they do when you make an account. Like I said, I was unable to look into that and do my journalistic due diligence because registration is closed.
But it should be easy to find. Otherwise, what qualifies as abuse and harassment is up to some faceless moderator we know nothing about.
Right. And, you know, from the About page, the statement that Helen posted, the creator, it's like they clearly have a bias against influencers.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's hard. There needs to be more clarity.
Yeah.
I also think Tattle will kind of always suffer from the fact that no matter what the creator says, the community has kind of already decided how they use it. And this is the case on most platforms. Like, it's the community that makes the culture. It's really not up to Helen anymore what Tattle is used for and how people talk about influencers because she's majorly outnumbered. Tattle has a reputation, and that reputation is what brings people to the site. It sounds like maybe this 8cafe thing was an attempt to rebrand because of this. But when you rebrand, like, that doesn't mean everyone will like it and just like fall in line. You will probably lose users.
But like, you should be happy about losing users who want to use a website to dox people.
Right. That's like kind of the point of the rebrand. And, you know, if you are on Tattle and you want to protect it, you should also want those people gone.
Because, hey, snark can be beautiful. Normal snark, I mean. It's okay to not like a creator. It's okay to be frustrated by influencer culture. And it is necessary for us to have these spaces to hold them accountable if they do something harmful.
I try to approach snarking on influencers the way that this was a user on the Love Island subreddit, bringing it back to Molly May as always. They kind of wrote about their philosophy about snarking on these islanders. These people are fair game when they're on screen. But once, like, especially a villain has been, you know, kicked off, voted off, whatever, leave them alone. Like, don't pile on their Instagram comments and make their life hell. Like, the show is over. They're not on their screens anymore. I kind of interpret that through the lens of influencers as, like, you can snark on their content and the things they choose to post about their lives. But when you're, like, digging for house records or contacting people in their life, that's not fair game.
Right, because as the creator of Tattle learned, it's not harmless when it happens to you.
Right. And it's also just like, sure, go on there and snark, but like, then go outside, like get mad at the politician, talk to a family member on the phone. Like, it should be just one small part of your day.
Do you think there will ever be a Tattle ICYMI thread?
Listen, it would be an honor, maybe also a disaster, but I'll tell you right now, if anyone says anything mean about my cats, I will be reaching out to Parliament.
That's right. That's right. Okay, that's the show. We'll be back in your feed on Wednesday, so definitely subscribe. That way, you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating and a review in Apple or Spotify and tell your friends about us. You can follow us on Twitter at ICYMI_pod, and you can always drop us a note at ICYMI@slate.com.
ICYMI is produced by Vic Whitley-Berry, Candice Lim, and me, Kate Lindsay. Daisy Rosario is our senior supervising producer, and Hillary Fry is Slate's editor-in-chief. See you online.
Or all alone on 8 Cafe.